Doug, I tried going hiking last week, and it seems like every time I try to go hiking, my shoes are always coming untied. My foot is actually sliding towards the front of the shoe. What can I do?
You know, that's a common problem actually, especially going downhill. That's the way you want to test your boot out when you buy it, is test going downhill or kick a wall to simulate it. And the way you tie it, sometimes what can happen is you can have it very tight up here at the top, but still you've got a lot of room down here, and so your toe will slide forward. One thing that happens is everybody tries to lace it up so that the tension tries to stay equal, and our feet aren't equal, they're different shapes. So we're going to show you what's called a skater's hitch. And we use it to keep a different tension in the front part of our boot than in the upper part of our boot. You could actually, if you had a big long boot, put maybe 2 skater's hitches in it or more if you needed. What we do is as we get to the point we want it to stay tight from here down, we're going to put a skater's hitch by wrapping it 3 times. There's 2 and there's 3. And you notice by doing this we create a lot of friction there. Now what we're going to do is we're going to get this front part of the boot just as tight as we want it. Not too tight? Mm-mm. Okay, now we're going to pull this up here. And okay, how's that feel there, okay?
It feels good.
And notice the skater's hitch right now coming into play. In fact, as I let go of it, notice how it's staying tight. That's what we want to do, and that'll allow this to stay tight the way we want it. And now this upper part here, we're going to adjust it the way we want it there too. So we'll finish pulling out the slack here, pull it up here, and then we're going to make a tie right here. Now what we do is we started out by our simple wrap there, and now we're going to make our loop like a normal bow. But instead of tying it here, we're wrapping over our thumb really good and down. We're going to do a second one. This time we're going to push it right through where our thumb is with our finger. And as we do that, we'll just pull it through here. And you notice we now have a double loop that's pushing down on those tighter. Now these actually can be a hazard if you're hiking, if they catch on a stick or something. So even if you use this secure one, I'd still recommend using a bow knot or something like that to just get those loops out of the way there so they're not catching on things.
Thanks.
The skater's hitch is one of my favorite knots. As you know, backpacking, taking care of your feet is probably the most important thing on any backpacking trip. And the skater's hitch will help you do that. First, what we like to do is undo the boot a little bit so you can find the right position to do it. The purpose of the skater's hitch is to allow you to put different tensioning or tightening on your boot at different places. Personally, I like to have my toes in that area kind of snug and hold my foot back in. What we're going to do here is wrap it around itself 2 times. This creates friction so that when we pull it tight, it'll stay tight. This way I can keep the lower part of my boot nice and snug and my foot doesn't slide around in the boot. And then where I need flex up in my ankles, I'll be able to flex my ankle because it'll be looser up there. Once I get the boot to the proper tightness or snugness, then I'm going to pull the skater's hitch tight. And notice how the friction actually keeps it that way. And now what I'll be able to do is snug up the top of the boot just the way I need it so that it's loose and allows my ankle to rotate and walk as I go down the trail. This little keeper is a pretty good little idea to keep the tongue in place. Now if you happen to have a leather boot, you can actually cut a little slot in there to allow you to keep your tongue straight. Now be careful if you do this so that you're able to, that you don't hurt the boot. That's something you'll have to determine if it's possible to do on your boot. Now these are keepers right here that work a lot like the skater's hitch. When we put the lace in there, it actually bites down on it and prevents it from sliding. So in this arrangement, I'm actually able to get 3 different tensions on my foot. The skater's hitch provides one, the tensioning hooks provides another, and then on the top we get to tie it off there with our bow knot. The bow is a good way to do it, and by tying this, I like to pull it over to one side. So like on my left foot, I'll pull it towards the inside or between the legs so that it's easier to get to tie. Now I first wrap it around itself and pull it through, and I like to put the tails with the bows about the same length, and then just tie kind of an overhand, if you will, over themselves, or like the first part of a square knot, and then pull it through. That helps manage the tails and the ends, and they don't tend to get as caught because they're not as long. Once that's secured, it'll stay tight all day for you like that.